My twin sister's funeral day, Justin sat by the grave for 3 days, unmoving, refusing food and water. Everyone in the village sighed, saying how deep their love was but how fate was cruel. Even my own mother asked me why I had to take Justin away. It was as if everyone chose to forget that Justin had been my husband for 32 years. At midnight I wandered across the main road in a daze. A truck bore down on me. I could have dodged it, but I didn't want to dodge anymore. Justin shoved me out of the way and fell into a pool of blood. He begged me, if there is a next life, return him cleanly to my sister. What did he mean by cleanly? I laughed. A mad sound. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the winter of 1977, the moment everything in my life began to be scrambled. Chapter 1. Diana. Are you really not going to be with Justin? Besides your sister, he's one of only 2 people from the village who passed the college entrance exam. He's one of the best young men here. Diana tugged at our mother's hand and acted coy. Mom, I'm going to study in the city. Of course I can find a man there. Why hang on to Justin, a country boy? Seeing our mother's resistance soften, Diana pressed the advantage. It's not that he's bad. Why don't you match Justin with my sister since she's still single? Keep the good fortune in the family. No. No, Mother waved her hands. Firm, you can take your sister's place at university, but absolutely not Justin. The villagers would laugh at us. Mom, Diana flung herself toward the wall, feigning a dramatic fit. If you don't agree, I'll smash my head against the wall and die. Mother clung to the theatrical Diana from behind and cried, My darling, don't do this to your mother. I agree. Isn't that enough? I stood outside and watched their little performance through the crack in the door. So that's how it was. So that was it. In my previous life I did like Justin, but I never crossed the line, neither said nor did anything improper. When I later learned that my sister and Justin had started seeing each other, I felt hurt, but I didn't show it. In daily life I avoided Justin completely, not even speaking to him first. Then one day Justin came to our house to find my sister, and somehow the whole village caught Justin and me in bed. It turned out my sweet sister and my dear mother had cooked the whole thing up. In my previous life I felt guilty for years because of that, so I willingly gave my precious university spot to my sister. She became the college student Elena, while I, under her name Diana, married Justin. So she and my mother had been coveting my university chance all along. My dear sister, fine. Keep the man. Give me back my chance at university. 1 month left and I'll leave the village for Jing University. Chapter 2. Elena. I looked up at the voice and saw Justin standing not far from my house, waving at me. He was handsome and tall, the sort girls liked. But all I could picture was him falling in blood and begging me in that voice, if there's another life, return him cleanly to my sister. Elena, I'm calling you. Can't you hear me? Justin, seeing I didn't respond, didn't bother with propriety. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the small grove. I shrugged his hand off and spat at his face, furious. Justin, get help if you're sick. Don't drag me into your craziness. Don't forget you're my sister's boyfriend. Justin froze and studied my expression closely. The moment he called me, I knew Justin had been reborn too. I hate how well I know him, but he clearly didn't know me the way I knew him. Justin made a quick conclusion, only he had been reborn. He couldn't contain his excitement. This life no one could stop him from being with Diana forever. Seeing me turn to leave, Justin murmured in a low voice, half to himself and half a warning, Elena, call me a fool. Say it's nonsense. Whatever. I have to say this. If you stop liking me, I don't like you at all. I only like your sister. If I marry you, I'll get sterilized. I won't give you a child. We'll be a pair of resentful spouses for life. Justin knew exactly where to strike. In my previous life I never had a child. I visited the hospital countless times trying to get pregnant. Tried all sorts of folk remedies. And once I lost 20 to 30 pounds in a month. Justin had once held me and said it was fine if we didn't have children, just him and me for life. I believed I had married a good man and gave myself to him and his family. But he was the one who made it impossible for me to get pregnant. How dare he blame it all on me in the last life? People can always be worse than you imagine. I kept walking until I closed the courtyard gate, then slid down and knelt on the ground. I touched my face, it was wet. He didn't love me. So why marry me? To abuse me? To use me? To squeeze every ounce of value from me? And yet, if he didn't love me, why did he shove me away and use his life to save mine? Mom's calling you in to cook. Diana came out, utterly unconcerned by my strange behavior, shouting at me. I looked at the twin who resembled me by 7 or 8 parts, 2 people, 2 fates. Diana had always known how to flirt and charm. I was reserved and rarely smiled. My mother favored taking Diana out to be praised by others. She raised Diana to be fair-skinned and spoiled. My looks were the cheaper version, dark, thin, and hollow. What are you looking at? Diana asked. I wiped my tears away and snapped back. First, I'm your elder sister. Use the proper title before calling me. Second, cooking isn't only my job. You can cook too. I pushed past her with my shoulder and went straight inside. I've figured it out. In my last life I was too soft. So people took advantage of me. This life I'll be a firecracker. Whoever messes with me will get blown to bits. Chapter 3. Elena. Don't you think Mom's getting old? Just 2 days of housework and her back already hurts. I glanced at my mother indifferently. It wasn't her back that hurt, it was her eyes that couldn't stand the sight of me. I'd been helping with chores since elementary school, and as I grew up, I became the main one doing them. Now I'd only rested for 2 days, and already my mother's face twisted with displeasure every time she looked at me. But Diana, who never lifted a finger even if a soy sauce bottle fell, she never said a word to her. When my mother saw I didn't answer, she slammed the kitchen knife down and pointed at my nose. Elena, you just got into college and your wings have already grown hard. Huh? You don't want to work around the house or in the fields? Are you planning to rebel? Maybe I should just let Diana go to college instead. So that's her real face. Fine, I'd play my move. I rushed out of the house, crying and shouting as I ran. I don't want to live anymore. I worked so hard to get into college, and now my mother wants me to give my spot to my sister. I might as well die. Elena, come back. We can talk. My mother ran after me, trying to shut me up. But stop. No way. Die? Also no way. I ran around the entire village, making sure every villager heard just how biased my mother really was. In my last life, I suffered because I kept everything bottled up. Not this time. Verbal warfare? I'm a natural. When I judged the timing right, I slowed down and ran toward the riverbank. Soon, Monica, a kind-hearted woman from the village, caught me in her arms. I buried my face in her chest and cried loudly, repeating over and over how unfair my mother was. Each time my mother tried to drag me away, Monica blocked her. Enough! The village head stepped out of the crowd, face dark. He scolded my mother. Mary, is it true you said your younger daughter could take her sister's place and go to school? My mother tried to deny it, but I let out an even louder wail. The villagers began criticizing her and Diana in unison. Her face turned bright red. She cared about her reputation, and now she'd lost it completely. She looked at me for help, but I just kept crying. Then she looked for Diana, but my sister, always worried about her image, hid behind the crowd, avoiding her gaze. Finally, my mother gave up and stammered, I was only joking with Elena. Joking? You think this kind of thing is a joke? Ever since your husband passed, you've been acting out of line. The village head snapped. Let me be clear, if this substitution thing gets mentioned again, it'll be a crime. Yes, I understand, my mother said quickly. My eyes met my sister's across the crowd, her expression twisted with resentment. I knew this wasn't over. Ever since we were little, anything that was mine and caught her eye, she took. No asking, just took. Chapter 4. That night, my mother did something rare. She boiled 3 eggs. 1 for her, 1 for my sister, and 1 for me. In the past, she always boiled only 2, saying 1 for each of us girls. I used to give mine to her out of pity. Turns out, the easiest solution was just to boil 3 eggs. Diana, are you home? Justin's voice came from outside. Diana shot me a proud look, chin held high as if she owned the world, then strutted out the door. A pang of pain ran through my chest. I told myself it was just withdrawal. After all, I'd been married to Justin for 30 years in my previous life. Even from a pile of shattered glass, you could still find a trace of sweetness. Elena, don't be mad at your sister. You know her temper, my mother said with a flattering smile. There was a question I'd buried for a long time, and I finally asked. Mom, I was only born 1 minute earlier than Diana. Does that 1 minute really make me so much less in your eyes? You've told me my whole life that I'm the elder sister, that I should give in, care for her, and bear all the responsibility. But can't you stop being so unfair? Her eyes filled with tears instantly, and they started to fall. She even managed to look wronged. How am I unfair? Your father died early. I raised both of you alone, being both father and mother, and now you blame me? Would you be satisfied only when I'm dead? In the past, I would have knelt and apologized right away, but in my previous life, I learned a term, PUA. My mother was emotionally manipulating me. She saved her smiles for my sister and her tears for me. No child should have to carry their parents' emotional burden. Seeing me stand there coldly with folded arms, she couldn't keep crying anymore and went off to wash the dishes. Diana came in beaming, holding a bag of pastries. Justin said he wants to see you. Seeing that I didn't move from the stool, she grew anxious. Justin's waiting outside. How can you be so rude and not go greet him? I looked at her calmly. You're not even married to him yet. And even if you were, tell me, which law says I have to see my brother-in-law whenever he wants to see me? Diana, used to getting her way, grabbed my arm and dragged me out. Before I realized it, she had pulled me into the courtyard. Chapter 5. Justin. My sister bullied me. Justin comforted Diana tenderly, but when he turned to face me, his tone was full of reproach. Elena, can't you, as the elder sister, stop bullying your younger sister all the time? I rubbed my wrist, red from Diana's grip, then hid the swollen mark behind my back. Lowering my head, I swallowed the bitterness in my chest. When I looked up again, my face was cold, composed. Coldness, my disguise, my armor, my last shred of pride and dignity. Our family matters have nothing to do with an outsider like you. Justin's eyes widened in disbelief. Elena, how can you be such a vile person? You bully your sister, and when I try to reason with you, you're not ashamed but even proud of it. Yes, I'm vile, and you're noble. Then I, the vile one, will get out of the way so you noble souls can breathe easier. I turned to leave. Justin grabbed my wrist, and I hissed in pain. He released me instantly, his voice worried and anxious. What happened to your hand? What's it to you? Say what you came to say. I pulled my hand back, though my heart softened for a fleeting moment at his concern. His gaze stayed fixed on my wrist, realization dawning that Diana had hurt me just moments ago. Justin, Diana cooed, shaking his arm coquettishly. Justin turned his head toward the radiant Diana, memories of past life regrets flickering through his mind. Then he looked back at me, eyes evasive. Elena, you have good grades. Let Diana take your place at the university this year, and you can take the exam again next year, okay? I pressed my hand to my chest. How could a heart hurt this much? Smack! I slapped myself hard across the face, cutting off the last foolish fragment of me that still harbored hope for him. Justin didn't understand why, but as he looked at my expressionless face, a wave of panic hit him as if he had just lost something precious. Justin, I said evenly, you also got into university. Why don't you give your spot to my sister instead? Why is it always me the two of you pick on? He was the reborn Justin. He knew better than anyone how I had envied my sister's college life in the past life, how I had regretted not being able to go. Sis, Justin's a man. How could I take his place at university? Diana said, her tone dripping with disdain. What does that have to do with me? I looked at my sister, same mother, same birth, yet our mother had raised us into entirely different creatures. Justin, don't come to me again. I can't help my sister. You too. I paused, the words heavy but clear. I wish you both a lifetime together, grow old side by side, and have children soon. Justin staggered backward several steps, face pale, looking at me with pain, as if my blessing had been a cruel curse instead. Chapter 6. For the next half month, my mother grew unusually quiet. Whenever she looked at me, she seemed to have something to say but always swallowed it back. I pretended not to notice. Diana, on the other hand, seemed to take joy in talking endlessly in front of me about how wonderful Justin was to her and how much they loved each other. I treated her words like the noise of passing wind and counted the days until I could leave. At last. Only 7 days remained. 7 days before I could finally escape from the family that didn't love me and go to the university I had dreamed of. Elena, are you even listening to me? Diana shoved me. I lazily rubbed my ear and replied, I heard you. You're asking where my admission letter is. What's it to you? And I also said that if you want to trade your college spot with me for Justin, I refuse. I laughed mockingly. So even across lifetimes, Justin meant so little to her. And yet, that was the woman he had pined for his entire life, the one he betrayed me for. How pathetic I must have been to have loved a man like that. You refuse? What right do you have to refuse? Diana snarled, her voice sharp. Don't you like Justin? My face turned cold. When did I ever say that I liked him? If I hear that rumor outside, I'll tear your mouth apart. Elena, enough now. My mother came out, trying to play peacemaker. I just shrugged indifferently and watched as she and Diana whispered to each other, plotting something as usual. I knew they were up to no good again, but as long as I stayed cautious for the next 7 days, I would be free, at least. That's what I thought, until I found myself home alone and saw Justin walk into the yard. I gripped a wooden stick tightly, standing at the gate, ready to retreat at the first sign of trouble. It had only been half a month, but Justin's aura had changed. Gone was the sunny, warm boy. In his place stood a brooding, dark man. Don't run, I just want to talk. I gripped the stick harder and warned him. You can talk from there, don't come closer, or this stick won't recognize who you are. I had gone out of my way to avoid him lately. Justin punched the earthen wall of my house with force. His expression was worn, his tone murmuring and low. Diana said you enjoy bullying her. She said she actually does really well in school but deliberately scored lower so she wouldn't upset you. She said you like me, that you're trying to steal me from her. I thought you were manipulative, that you broke us apart on purpose. But then, why? He trailed off, glancing up at me to gauge my expression. Half of my face was hidden behind the door, my eyes shadowed. I understood what he was thinking. He had finally realized that I had been avoiding him on purpose. That today he had once again been tricked by Diana into coming here. At this point, even he wasn't foolish enough not to see that I hadn't been to blame for what happened in our past life. He had felt wronged for being forced to marry me, but had he ever thought that I, too, was forced to marry him? Justin stepped toward me slowly, his gaze locking onto me with painful sincerity. Elena, you're the only one who was ever truly good to me. I swung the stick straight at his head. Get out! If you come any closer, I'll scream molester. One accusation like that, and your whole future will be over. Don't scream, I'll go. Justin ducked and ran, clutching his head, choosing his future over his pride. Chapter 7. Diana suddenly burst out from the shadows, shouting, How could you drive Justin away from me? I looked at her coldly, and at my mother, who stood silently behind her. I couldn't stay in this house any longer with Diana's twisted mind. Who knew what kind of scheme she might come up with next? I had to leave immediately. My plan was to go to town to find my second uncle, the one person who truly cared about me, 1,000 times more than my mother ever did. He was my father's younger brother, and the two of them had always been deeply close. My uncle often said my father had worked himself to death just to put him through school. So, after my father passed away, my uncle sent my mother money and ration tickets every month. My mother always claimed she was the one who raised me, but we both knew the truth. It was my uncle who really did. My mother had always lived off others. When my father was alive, she relied on him. After he died, she relied on my uncle, and with me doing all the housework. She spent her days sighing and complaining like a tragic woman from an old tale. In my past life, when my uncle learned that I had given my university spot to Diana and stayed behind to marry in the countryside, he tried to talk sense into me many times, but blinded by my feelings for Justin, I said cruel words to him. Disappointed, he eventually gave up on me and walked away. This time, after being reborn, I had already hidden my admission letter and other important documents at my uncle's house, to avoid any further complications. I needed to leave this place as soon as possible. But when I tried to push the door open, it didn't move. It had been locked from the outside with a heavy iron lock. Then I heard Diana's voice from outside. Elena, hand over your admission letter. If you don't, Don't even think about stepping out of that door. How can I give it to you if you won't open the door? Pass it through the crack. Realizing she wasn't falling for it, I answered truthfully, Diana, the admission letter isn't here. Diana laughed, a wild, triumphant laugh. So there's no admission letter. Huh? Then good. If I can't go to college, Elena, neither will you. Chapter 8. I had been trapped in this pitch-dark room for 4 days. The registration date for university was drawing closer and closer. I paced back and forth like a caged beast. My nerves stretched thin. Elena. Mom. I banged on the door, begging. Mom. Please. Let me out. Let me go to college. I won't ask you for tuition. I won't spend a cent of the family's money. I'll even earn money and send it back to you. My mother was startled by my desperation. She hesitated. But Diana, sensing a glimmer of hope, I coaxed her gently. Mom, Diana is my sister. We don't have grudges that last overnight. If I do well in life, I'll help her too. Mom, I've never begged you for anything before. Just this once. Please help me, okay? There was silence outside. Just when despair was about to take me completely, I finally heard the sound of a key turning in the lock. And then Diana's cold, sharp voice rang out. Mom, if you let Elena go to college, I'll kill myself right here. You choose, me or her. The sound of the key stopped immediately. Hope and despair, separated by only a few seconds. Tick, tick, I counted the seconds in hopeless silence before I heard my mother's voice again. Elena, just listen to your sister. Of course, I murmured. Mom, why can't you stand by me, just once? Heh, Elena, what makes you think you can compare with me? Diana sneered. That was the confidence of a child who had always been favored. I snapped back. Diana, you think you can lock me up forever? I'll go to college one day. This house can't keep me prisoner forever. Even if I couldn't go this year, I would next year, or the year after that, someday. I would. You'll never go to college, she said. I froze. What do you mean? The literal meaning, she said slowly, stretching out every word with cruel delight. Mom and I found you a husband, Oliver, from the village. You know him, right? The lazy drunk who beats women? His last wife ran away after he nearly killed her. Tisk. TSK. Elena, you refused to marry Justin, but now that you're marrying Oliver, are you happy? Mom, is this true? I had given up on Diana and Justin, but there was still a tiny shred of hope left for my mother. Elena, maybe Oliver isn't as bad as they say. Ha, ha, ha. I laughed until my stomach hurt. The cruelest joke I had ever heard, and it came from my own mother. If Oliver isn't that bad, why don't you marry him? Why doesn't Diana? I'm telling you both, I won't marry anyone. I'd rather die than marry him. You, my mother stammered in anger, unable to speak, and Diana pulled her away. That night, I heard Justin's voice outside the door. Elena, I heard about what happened. Why don't you marry me instead? But you'll still need to give your college spot to Diana. I've thought it through, you're smart. You can take the exam again next year. I lifted my head from my knees, exhaustion in my voice. Justin, do you really think you're some kind of hero? Sacrificing yourself for your so-called great love with Diana? To me, you're nothing but a selfish, self-righteous hypocrite. I'm telling you, I don't like you, and I don't want to marry you. And at that moment, I realized I truly felt nothing for him anymore. In my last life, I must have met too few men to waste myself clinging to a man like Justin, a crooked, twisted tree. Justin protested. That's impossible. How could you not like me? You copied my notebooks by hand, reviewed my weakest subjects, and even wrote over 10 study journals for me. How could that not be love? So I had loved him that much once, but the bitterness of my past life had long erased it all. Justin, if you ever felt even a flicker of gratitude for what I once did for you, then let me go. No, if you leave, you'll never come back. Wait for me, I'll break up with Diana tomorrow and marry you. From day to night, and night to day again, I sat motionless on the floor. My eyes drifted to the matchbox and the kerosene lamp beside me. Chapter 9. Fire! There's a fire! A villager shouted. My mother grabbed someone's arm in panic. Whose house is on fire? Mary. What are you still doing out here? It's your house. By the time my mother rushed home, half the house was charred black, and Elena, was nowhere to be found. She clutched Justin's arm, her voice trembling. Where's my Elena? Where is she? Is she safe? Justin shoved her away, his eyes burning with anger. She's gone. She's never coming back. He blamed my mother. He knew that if she hadn't pushed me so hard, I wouldn't have run away so desperately. Gone, not coming back? My mother's voice quivered as she collapsed to the ground, dazed. She didn't care about the burned-down house or the fact that Diana hadn't returned. For a brief moment, she seemed to awaken to the faint echo of a mother's love for me, but it was too late. Justin had been among the first villagers to arrive to help put out the fire. When he saw how fierce the flames were, he wanted to rush in blindly to save me. But my second uncle was faster. He covered himself with a soaked quilt and charged straight into the burning room. When I came to and saw my uncle, I threw myself into his arms and burst into tears, this time from the depths of my heart. I hadn't meant for things to go that far. I only wanted to burn down the wooden door to escape. But I had underestimated how fast the fire would spread. The blaze swallowed the room in moments, and the thick smoke quickly made me dizzy and faint. Luckily, my uncle had guessed I might be at home, calculating the time I should have been leaving for university. He came to check on me, and by pure chance, saved my life. Thankfully, the villagers arrived in time to put out the fire before it destroyed everything. Just as my uncle was about to take me away, Justin ran after us, desperation in his eyes. Elena, please, can we talk? I agreed. My uncle stood nearby, glaring at Justin like a farmer guarding his prized cabbage from a hungry pig. Go ahead, I said. I looked at the man before me. There was no love left. No hate either. My gaze was calm, distant, like looking at a stranger. Elena, don't look at me like that. Justin reached out to cover my eyes, his voice thick with emotion. If you've got nothing to say, I'm leaving. Don't go. Elena, when I saw you in the fire, I realized I love you. Can you? No, I can't. Out of respect for the fact that he'd come to help with the fire, I added, what I felt before was real, but what I don't feel now, that's real too. As for everything from our previous life, let it stay in that dream. That was enough. When my uncle and I left, Justin's broken cries echoed behind us, my name repeated again and again, drowned by grief. But neither my uncle nor I looked back. Chapter 10. You're still laughing? Do you realize you almost died? My uncle tapped me on the forehead with his finger, his voice full of both anger and worry. I'm sorry, Uncle. I obediently admitted my fault. In my past life, I had been trapped in that village by Justin and my mother, all in the name of love. I farmed their land, took care of the elders, lived as their workhorse and servant. But in this life, I finally escaped that prison. I spread my arms wide, feeling the taste of freedom in the open air. From now on, the sky and sea were boundless. No one could trap me ever again. You really are something, my uncle muttered, his anger softening as he saw my soot-blackened face and hair burned unevenly short. His heart ached too much to scold me further. He couldn't help but blame my mother. How could anyone drive such a good child to this point? I grinned. That's why Aunt says my temper's just like yours. Oh, so you're looking for a beating? My uncle raised his hand, but he was smiling too. When we arrived at his house, I froze at the doorway. The bright, spotless living room looked too warm, too clean, a place I didn't dare to step into. What's wrong? You waiting for an invitation? My aunt had already prepared dinner and smiled kindly at me. When I still hesitated, she came over and gently pulled me inside. That day at my uncle's house was the only truly happy day I had experienced since being reborn. That night, I woke to the sound of my aunt and uncle talking softly in the next room. My aunt's voice trembled, heavy with tears. You've been helping your brother's family for years, and I never said a word. But look at Elena today. She's skin and bones. How could your sister-in-law raise her like that? Enough, my uncle said quietly. Don't let the child hear you. No, I won't stop. Elena's going to college. You have to move part of the money and ration coupons you send to your brother's family over to her. Otherwise, I won't let it go. I know, he replied with a sigh. You tell me, how did I end up marrying such a good woman? I clamped my hands over my mouth, stifling my sobs. Because of my family. My uncle's life hadn't been easy all these years. Even my cousins had chosen to live at school to save money. They were such good people, how could I bring them any more trouble? Chapter 11. Elena. Come eat. My aunt called outside the door, but there was no answer. She pushed it open. The room was empty. On the table lay a letter and an IOU written in my hand. In 1977, tuition was free, but living still cost money, so I had quietly taken 20 yuan from the envelope my uncle gave me the night before and left before dawn. At the university, life was poor but fulfilling. I lived on steamed buns, one meal after another. I had imagined that in the city I could take a part-time job to support myself, but reality proved far harsher than I'd thought. My major was foreign languages, something I had never studied before. Rebirth didn't give me any advantage here. My classmates were all diligent and relentless, waking earlier, sleeping later, and studying harder than anyone else. In such an environment, working for money was impossible, even in my dreams. I was reciting vocabulary words. After 3 months of school, despite living frugally, my 20 yuan was gone. From 3 buns a day, I went down to 1, then none, only water. Eventually, my body gave in, and I fainted in class. When I came to, my classmates surrounded me. Some offered to take notes for me. Others said their families could help me find tutoring jobs. Not one person looked down on me for being poor. For the first time in my life, I understood what true friendship and camaraderie were. They argued passionately over pronunciation, competed fiercely over grades, and pushed one another toward progress, not out of jealousy, but out of shared ambition. The professor who taught our core subject dismissed the noisy students, handed me an envelope, and said sternly, "Consider this a loan. Pay me back when you can. If you refuse, you're not allowed in my class." My students follow my rules. I accepted everyone's kindness, recording every gesture carefully in my notebook, a promise to myself to repay them one day, in any way I could. Even if it was something as small as fetching water or bringing dinner. So I studied harder, more seriously, more tirelessly, to live up to their kindness, and to live up to myself. 3 months later, my uncle arrived at the school, covered in dust, looking ready to beat me on the spot. It turned out he had been sending money and ration coupons all along, but since the address had been wrong, the letters kept being returned. He finally took leave from work just to find me. After I promised I would eat properly, accept his money, and begged with enough tears and pleading smiles, he finally forgave me. From his visit, I learned that after I left, he had cut the money he sent to my mother in half. Diana and my mother had shown up at his door several times, making a scene, until my aunt threatened, "Cause trouble again, and you'll get nothing." Only then did they give up and leave, humiliated. My uncle also told me my mother had secretly asked about me a few times, though he never revealed where I was. He said she looked older now, half her hair gone white, her face drawn and tired. Seeing my expression harden, he didn't try to persuade me to forgive her. He knew too well what I had gone through to escape that house. The day he left Beijing, I watched his figure fade into the distance, and tears filled my eyes. For the first time, my blurred memories of my father found a shape in the silhouette of my uncle walking away. Chapter 12. The 4 years of university passed quickly in an atmosphere of relentless competition, classmates pushing one another forward, striving to be better. All the shadows of my past seemed to fade away. I regained vitality, flesh, and spirit, becoming a completely different person from who I once was. I was confident, bright, and full of life. During that time, I only kept in touch with my uncle and aunt. As for my mother and the others back home, I never contacted them again. Justin, however, came looking for me many times. I never saw him. Later, he got clever, asking students from other departments to deliver letters, food, or even money and ration coupons to me. But I returned everything. My classmates, noticing how troubled I was by Justin's persistence, helped me block anyone from other departments who tried to approach. Even if Justin still wanted to reach me, the goodwill of those students could not survive his constant pestering. Eventually, they stopped helping him altogether. My mother came to the university twice. She was not yet 50, but looked older than she had in her 60s in my past life. Of course, in the last life, I was there to care for her, doing everything while she only had to move her mouth. But in this life, her tireless, obedient workhorse had run away, and Diana, useless as ever, wouldn't lift a finger. Naturally, my mother had to do it all herself. Add to that Diana's constant drama, and it was no surprise she aged fast. Both times she came, I dismissed her quickly. The second time, I told her, "Don't come looking for me again. When you reach the legal retirement age, I'll send you a monthly allowance at the government's minimum standard. From then on, our bond as mother and daughter will be over. Maybe you won't believe me, but I've taken care of you my entire life and received nothing but blame in return. I've repaid every debt between us." She left the university trembling, and from that day on, we never contacted each other again. After graduation, because of my excellent academic record and my professor's recommendation, I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Chapter 13. Work grew busier and busier. Every month, I sent my entire salary to my uncle and aunt. When they tried to refuse, I simply sent it back again until they had no choice but to accept it. I never dated anyone. Of course, there was no shortage of admirable, like-minded suitors, but I turned them all down, not out of fear, simply because I couldn't feel anything. Men, love, marriage, none of it stirred me anymore. At first, my uncle and aunt tried to persuade me, but when they saw how peaceful and content my life was alone, they stopped mentioning it. After they both retired, I brought them to Beijing to live with me, under the excuse of helping them relax and see the city. When they tried to give me back all the money I had sent over the years, I was stunned. It totaled nearly 30,000 yuan. I thought for a moment, then accepted it, pooled another 20,000 with a few friends, and bought them a courtyard house in the heart of the city. They complained it was extravagant, but once they moved in, the joy on their faces said otherwise. My uncle's new hobby was visiting parks and chatting with the old Beijingers. My aunt, meanwhile, started a small business, embarking on what she called her second spring. When she first told me her plan, she glanced at me nervously, afraid I might feel embarrassed. I smiled and said, "As long as you're happy, I'll always be your strongest supporter." I would never forget the warmth of her hug that day, the same arms that once pulled me into her home when I was afraid of dirtying her clean floors. Later, when my cousins grew up and started working, I encouraged them to come to Beijing too, partly because the city offered better opportunities, and partly because, selfishly, I wanted to keep my family close, even if I couldn't see them every day because of work. Just knowing there were people waiting for me at home steadied my heart. My words carried weight in the family, and my cousins respected my opinion. They truly came to Beijing to build their futures, as long as it didn't violate any official rules. I did everything I could to help them: housing, food, transportation, job introductions. They told everyone I was like their real older sister. I listened with a gentle smile. You reap what you sow. I was the fruit of my uncle and aunt's kindness, and I thought, in this life, I had finally found completeness. Chapter 14. Aunt Mary, are you home? Mary sat in front of the television. As she often did, she didn't know when Elena might appear on screen, so she used the simplest method. She just stayed there, watching, waiting. "Yes, I'm coming." Her voice was frail. Leaning on her cane, she shuffled slowly toward the courtyard gate. Abigail, the young woman who had come to visit, looked at the old, crumbling house and couldn't help shaking her head. This old lady. She'd favored her younger daughter when she was young, driving away the capable elder one. The younger daughter had married a college student from the same village, while the elder daughter left, never to return. Now, in her old age, the woman longed for the very daughter she had once cast aside. She stayed alone in the decaying home, saying only that she didn't want her eldest daughter to come back one day and find no house left. Abigail knew who that daughter was, the brilliant woman she often saw on television, speaking on behalf of the nation with calm authority. Well, she thought, pitiful people often have themselves to blame. "Auntie," Abigail said softly, handing her an envelope. "This is the living allowance Elena sent for you this month." Mary accepted it carefully, tucking it close to her chest pocket, the only link left between her and her daughter. Ever since she turned 60, Elena had kept her promise. sending money every month as she said she would. Auntie, Abigail added, that room that burned down 20 years ago is still half ruined. You should use some of this money to have it repaired. Yes. Yes. Mary nodded vaguely. Abigail sighed. Whatever she said, Mary always replied yes. But whether she actually did anything about it, that was another story. Not long after Abigail left, the rickety door burst open with a loud bang. Diana stormed in, yelling, "You old hag! Elena sent you money again, didn't she? Hand it over! You're watching TV again? Keep watching, Elena's not coming back." After a few more rounds of shouting, Diana finally snatched the money and strutted out. Satisfied, Mary sat motionless, murmuring over and over, "Sins, it's all sins." Outside, Diana spent all the money with her lover before swaggering back home. "Where have you been?" Justin asked listlessly. "None of your damn business," Diana snapped, her eyes full of disdain as she looked at the withered man before her. Justin noticed the red marks on her neck. Rage burst through him. He lunged at her, shouting, "You cheating whore! I want a divorce." But the once handsome Justin was now little more than skin and bones. No match for Diana's heavy frame. She pinned him to the ground and beat him mercilessly. When she'd had enough, she spat in his face, "Pay," and walked out with her usual arrogant stride. Justin lay there, unmoving, staring blankly at the ceiling. How had his life come to this? Because he couldn't have Elena. He had married Diana, and she had turned his home into chaos. His parents had died from anger and grief. He had given up on himself, stopped working, stopped going out, spending his days locked in endless fights with Diana. But somehow, the Diana who had died early in his previous life now thrived in this one, growing stronger as he withered away. Without Elena, he realized, he was nothing, and Elena, without him, had only flourished. "Elena, come back," he whispered weakly. "Come back. I don't want that wretched woman anymore. I only want you." He reached a trembling hand toward the blazing sun, but the sun said nothing, it only hung silently in the sky.